What's up, guys? Today we're going to take a more in-depth look at the Jade Harvester set and how you build towards it and how you build upgrades as the game progresses. I've been playing it only for a few days, maybe like a week since I've got the set, but it is extremely powerful. Um, Keep in mind that if you want to use the Jade Harvester set, it is very gear intensive, and you do need quite a bit of stuff if you want to clear the end game content. Um, Pretty much what I have is optimal. I mean, there's a couple slots that, obviously I could roll better stats on things or whatever, and change a couple items for best in slot items. But the core is this: you need 5 pieces of Jade Harvester set. So that's the shoulders, chest, gloves, pants, and the boots, and not the helm. Okay. So because you have 5 pieces, you want the 6-piece bonus. So you need a royal ring of royal grandeur, and you need a Quetzalcoatl. I guess that's how you say it, Quetzalcoatl. Um, Everything else is not that important. Obviously, you want cold damage, SOJs, and if you want to clear Torment 6, you probably need this Ucapian Serpent. Um, Basically, 30% of your damage is redirected to your zombie dogs, so you need that kind of mitigation, especially because the set is not very, um, doesn't really give you a lot of mitigation at all. Um, Basically, playing this build is all about putting a bunch of dots on the enemies and then using the soul harvest to do incredible amounts of damage. That said, soul harvest is on a 15-second cooldown. You know, and it goes slower with some CDR and some other skills, but like Grave Injustice and Spirit Vessel. But the goal is to pretty much dot everything on the screen, you get them in a nice pack, and then soul harvest, and anything else that's still alive, you just kite around until soul harvest comes off cooldown again. Um, those are important slots. There are other things to keep in mind, like for instance, I used to have 1.2 million damage, but I dropped my weapon like by 400 DPS or 400 white damage. And the reason why is because trash white mobs, you're gonna kill them. Okay, soul harvest, the ticks are just it's too strong. Okay, um, but as the game gets harder, Torment 6, some of the elites, they won't die in one shot. So you need that damage against elites. So compounding effects like elite damage plus cold damage uh, can really blow up like later game uh, bosses and monsters. And yeah, a lot of that gear represents that, like Harrington waist guards, pretty much doubling your damage. So instead of 600 mil, I'm doing like 1.2 bill crits or whatever, or soul harvest procs. The build is pretty simple. I use Haunt. I use Resentful Spirit so that I can dot more than one mob at a time. Pyranado, this adds 20% damage buff on mobs that are debuffed, as well as a crowd control uh, option. Locust Swarm, Pestilence, just because this thing spreads really crazy. Spirit Walk with mana regen. Siphon on my Soul Harvest so I can get some life back. And Zombie Dogs with Lifelink to run with the Ucapian Serpent. Um, for passives, Pierce the Veil and Creeping Death. These are pretty much necessary. Grave Injustice is probably not necessary, but for me, I think it's just so powerful. Get Soul Harvest off cooldown quicker. For content that's easy, I use Fierce Loyalty because this just allows me to move around the map faster. But against tough stuff, you want Spirit Vessel because it'll reduce the cooldown of Spirit Walk and Soul Harvest, and then it gives you like that quick savior if you're about to die. That's pretty much all the gear. To explain how the dots work, so basically, spells like Locust Orb and Haunt, they do damage over time. Okay, so let's say, let's say that whenever I hit a mob with Haunt, it takes 3 million of damage a second. Okay, creeping death, what that does is it increases the duration of those dots. So let's say those dots would last for 30 seconds or a minute. Instead of lasting for a minute, it lasts for 5 minutes. So in an ideal world, after 5 minutes, that guy would have taken 3 mil times the 5 minutes, right? So, or well, 3 times the 60 seconds times the 5 minutes, right? As opposed to 1 minute or 30 seconds or whatever it is. So it's a huge increase in damage for the dot, if you can get all the procs of the dot. But that means that if you wanted to kill like something, you'd have to wait around 5 minutes, right? Understand what I'm saying? Soul Harvest, with the 6-set bonus, it does all that damage immediately. But this isn't that actually truly accurate. It isn't all 5 minutes worth of damage. It's just like a snapshot of the damage. So maybe 20 to 30 seconds worth. It's still significant. What Quetzalcoatl does is it limits the length of the dot by half. Okay, but all that damage is still dealt in that half the time. So it means it doubles your damage. So instead of a 5 minute dot, the dot is 2.5 minutes long. But all that damage that would have been dealt in 5 minutes is dealt in 2.5 minutes. So it pretty much doubles the damage. And then when you work that with your Soul Harvest, that also doubles the damage of the Soul Harvest, because you know the amount of damage being dealt per second is higher. Okay, so that's pretty much how the build works. Let's just finish this. This is a T4 rift I was running with some friends. So we'll just finish it off real quickly. You get to see the build in some action, I guess. Oops, I think it's a bit there. Oh my goodness. Ideally, what you want to do is just hit everybody. This is trash, so you know, no surprise there. They're gonna die, right? Oh, what the hell? Where did you just want to hit everybody with. Oh, here we go. Pestilence, and then especially like elite groups, you want to just haunt them a little, and then just run it there and Soul Harvest. You see, everything died. I'm not really sure what they're kicking for, how much damage those things are doing, but it's significant. And what's helping a lot is the movement speed from Fierce Loyalties, allowing me to travel the map at a very quick speed, as well as the Warcheesian arm guards or whatever those things are called. But those aren't necessary. Actually, I think those really make me move way too fast. See right here, I'm just grabbing everything. And at this level Torment, like even just the dot of Locust Swarm is enough to kill most of these monsters. See, I mean, that's significant. And of course, when I got the Harricans, Waist Guard, like, we're doing crazy damage. I really don't know how big those numbers are actually, so all I know is we are doing quite a bit of damage. There you go. It's significant, so we're making this T4 look like normal right now, so it's very simple. My suggestion is, you know, if you don't know how good an item is, like if you, let's say you get a new weapon and it does elite damage, but it lowers your DPS by 400, like, you know, that is significant. For me, that I'd have to ask questions about that. I'd say go into a map and test it and see like just how much it affects your tick on a white mob and how much it affects your tick on an elite. And then after that, just test everything, Soul Harvest, everything, you know, with the new weapon and then with the original weapon. That's the best way to go about it. Like, and you'll find that there is a minimum threshold of damage that you need to reach in order to be able to kill white mobs. you know, I don't know, maybe you're comfortable making sure that all white mobs die at a certain level as long as they have locust swarm on your soul harvest, or you know, maybe you're content with it being as long as there's a haunt on them. You know, it's up to you to decide that, you know, factors. You know, maybe you really want to concentrate on elite damage, cold damage. You know, it's really up to you to decide those things. But ideally, because these mobs just die so easily, you probably want to focus on elite damage as well as cold. You know, get it where you can get it. I got the Harrington, so every time I see something, I'll open it. There you go, got everything, explode, everything's dead. It's pretty wild. So, I mean, this is T4, guys. T6, like, you know, probably not going to die that fast, but T6 is actually quite easy. And I actually feel this is much better. If you got this build and, you know, you're doing like pretty good damage, you should farm on low torment, like this level torment. I think that's about the right level of difficulty that you want to farm in for solo play. Like, otherwise you should definitely stick to using groups, because you just get access to so much stuff. You know, you get meat shields and all that good stuff. So just real simple. It's really fun too. A good trick is after you pestilence, if you're pretty safe in what's on cooldown or what's off cooldown, you should run past the mobs, so that the pestilence hits more things and you track a bigger group. I hear I'm moving pretty fast, so ideally I would want to get that. We can just run past all that. The one thing that this build kind of suffers on, definitely suffers on, is boss fights. You'll be able to see that right here. Just want to open up more of the instance books. Remember, the harder difficulty, if you got a chance of like dying pretty often, you probably want to take Spirit Vessel. Spirit Vessel will give you faster cooldowns, let you survive some things. Damn it, this mouse, man. Ooh, sorry guys, sorry about that. Okay, 95%. Where are you guys? You see that damage is pretty significant. Those ticks are not crazy, but 56 million, and that was off of a locust swarm? Is that what that said? I think so. And that was just one locust swarm kicking. That's not a haunt. Remember, so that was 1,056,000. So we could say like 56 times the damage, right? Yeah. So these things are hitting for, yeah, so 50, 60, 50 times the damage, guys. That's I think that's a safe assumption. So those things are hitting for 1 million. What is our haunt hitting for? 4 mil? So you do the math, that's like 200 million down. 200 million damage probably. You know, and that doesn't include things like Harringtons or whatever. we want to take advantage of that. Let's go find something that we can open. Oh, careful for that. Oh, see, that damage sucks. This is where the build suffers. Like, there's really nothing you can do. Half-life, I guess. That works out. So you can understand the struggle that might occur. Higher tournament difficulties. This is what can do the most damage. So always get your, especially for bosses, put your tornado up. So yeah, pretty simple. A fun build, definitely. Something definitely new to try on. Very gear intensive, but well worth it. So if you have any questions or concerns or any ways I can improve, because, you know, obviously this is not, I'm not totally geared out, let me know.